So using supported living as a strategy seems like there are some benefits. So that recession proof, and I understand what you mean by that. That ability to be able to have a customer, which is the government in some cases, who will always need to provide these services, having that as one of the potential clients is always going to be a positive thing. Now, I transitioned from wealth management into mortgages over the last 5 to 6 years because I was looking at trying to do something that with the introduction of AI, with the introduction of new regulations, with the changing workforce, would have some type of runway between then and when I look to retire. So if you're looking at property strategies, you need to consider more than just can I get a mortgage? So I explained how to get the mortgage. To a degree, that's the easy part. Because if you've been somewhat wise with your finances, if you've maintained your credit score, if you've done those fundamentals well, banks will lend to you. And even if you haven't done some of those fundamentals well, there's specialist lenders that will still lend to you. But what's important is that you're considering the long-term strategy. So being online, you will see that there are people out there that are going to tell you, well, listen, come on my course. I'll tell you how to flip properties, or come on my course, or download my free book, which is just the introduction to a sales funnel. But they'll tell you all of these things. Now, I believe you have an academy. So what separates you and what you do, or what's your unique selling point around how you support people in getting up and running in supported living as a property investment strategy?
Great question. So before we get to the academy and the support around that, I just want to touch on something, and I suppose this is also part of it, which is important, is that if you are seriously looking to give your property over to a supported living provider, or you want to become a supported living provider, it's important that you get the appropriate mortgage products. There are different mortgages out there designed for different purposes. Gone are the days where you can just get a regular buy to let and let it go for supported living. Because God forbid something goes wrong and they then discover that you had let that property to supported living tenants or to a supported living provider and you didn't disclose, it potentially becomes mortgage fraud. And obviously for us investors, some of you might be very cash rich and you might not need to borrow. But for the rest of us that do need to borrow, you need to have a clean record so that every time you apply for borrowing, there aren't any, for lack of a better term, any black marks against your record or any queries of you doing mortgage fraud. Now,
Okay, let's unpack this, because this is one of those areas that I talk about a lot, and I probably lose a lot of clients because of my approach to doing business. So, as I said at the very beginning, I've done 10 years of debt collection. I used to be in the pre-litigation department for HSBC many moons ago. So I was one of the people that was making sure that we had exhausted every option of keeping someone in their home. So I've been in people's living rooms when we have to figure out how we're going to keep them in the home. The kid is running around, the dog is running around. It's not a comfortable place to be. And what I found is quite often, people put themselves in those situations where they could be at risk of losing their home. So what I mean by that, and you said this to Piwa, like, it's about getting the right products. It's about understanding that you cannot fool the bank. All right. So as much as people think you're fooling a bank when you take out a mortgage for one purpose and you do something else, especially in the day of AI, it's so easy for them to figure out what's going on. Okay. So I kind of feel, as with a lot of things in society, there'll be a flavor of the month. So you'll have a thing that is happening that the government or the banks will almost turn a blind eye to until it becomes a hot topic. And so you always want to make sure that you do things decent and in order. It may cost you a little bit more. It may make it a little bit more challenging, but you want to make sure that your paperwork is correct. You want to make sure that the mortgage you're taking out is reflective of what you genuinely are looking to do with the property, because it will come back and bite you. Now, whilst people have the perception that on the credit report that people are blacklisted and things of that nature, it's not that. It's just banks look at risk. Banks share information just like insurers share information. So there's enough products out there and there are enough specialist lenders out there that you can be upfront and honest and still get where you want to be. So I just want to emphasize what Tapiwa was saying. You want to make sure that you're thinking about what your long-term goal is and getting the appropriate product, that you are not in a position where you are abusing the system. And one of the key areas, and I'm going to say it, I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room, is purchasing a residential property and then renting it out, or getting a buy-to-let property and then living in it. Now, we do know that there are lenders that will have products that will allow you to have a buy-to-let property and have a relative live in there. Just do the right thing. Do the right thing. Lenders want to lend. Lenders want to be able to support you, but equally, they don't want to put themselves in a situation where they're at risk or they get picked up for not doing their due diligence or their anti-money laundering, or because people want to hate banks, but where else can you sign a piece of paper and then £500,000 gets transferred from one place to another? So as much as we want to hate banks, we need them, unless, of course, you are Uncle Tapiwa and sitting on 5 million, right? No, but for most regular people, you're going to need banks, you're going to need a mortgage. So let's just make sure that we do things correctly and utilize people like Tapiwa that can give us the strategies, give us good guidance, and hold our hands through the process. And I know I picked up and I kind of interrupted your flow, so I'm going to hand back over to you, but I did want to draw that out and elaborate on that point a little bit more.
It's a very important point. And all I would say to round that off is, look, I'm not here to tell anybody how to run their business or how to run their investments, except to say, just know the risks, right? Yeah. There's an old saying that we grew up on, which was know the ledge, have the knowledge. You remember, right? Have the knowledge to know what's involved. There are some risks that we necessarily take in business. There are some risks that maybe are just not worth it because the downside is potentially so huge that it outweighs the upside, and vice versa. So know what the risks are, be fully knowledgeable and educated, and understand what it is on both sides, and then take appropriate action as you need to. And sometimes people will do that, and sometimes people won't. But as Anthony said earlier, seek advice of professionals, and make sure that you're doing what works for you, whatever that's going to be. You asked a question, which was, what's my USP? I think my USP in supported living is that I'm one of maybe a handful of people that understand both sides in terms of being a property investor as well as being a care provider. There are many people who are one or the other, and a few people who are both and speak both languages and understand how to bring one side over to the other and vice versa. So I think that's where I sit in a little bit of a unique space within the two spaces, as it were, being able to kind of straddle both sides, as it were. The Supported Living Academy is really designed because of what I do, and because of the massive interest in supported living over the last few years. A lot of people would be approaching me, we want to do this and we want to do that. We want to get into supported living. How do we get into supported living? Or, we've got a couple of properties. We want to partner with supported living providers. How can we make that work? And I just realized that instead of me spending a lot of time and effort speaking to people on a one-to-one, let's create a group and create a bit of a community whereby we can actually share that knowledge as a group and as a community, and empower each other, and empower ourselves within that community to be able to grow our portfolios, whether that be a business portfolio or a property portfolio, and have some investments that not only make a profit, but also provide, a meaningful purpose. So kind of a profit with purpose kind of outlook, where we're doing good, but we're also getting paid in some cases quite well for doing good. So it's a win-win-win, which is, my favorite type of win. I'm not really into win lose. I want win win win, so that everybody involved all around is winning and is doing well.
And I would say I appreciate your humility because you said that you understand both sides, but in actually seeing you on panels and talking to you the times that I have, you have a broad knowledge as well. So I remember at the expo when we were having the panel, and I said this to you before the show, I could see that we had some amazing people. So I'm not taking anything away from them, but within their field, there were still things that you, not being a specialist in their field, there were bits of information that you could add to that. I talk a lot about what I call the 35 divide. And the 35 divide to me is I find that a lot of people under the age of 35 work from a different paradigm than people over the age of 35 or people in their 50s like me. People in my age bracket kind of were brought up and told you have to know the thing before you can say you know the thing.
Mm.
Plus, we didn't grow up with the history of the world in our pocket that we could kind of freestyle, fake it till we make it, and then just look on the phone and say, "Oh yeah, this is what that thing is." We had to know the thing, right? Whereas people under 35, they work from the paradigm of I can figure it out as I go along. I will fake it until I make it. My point in that is this: you have a depth of knowledge. So within what you're teaching people, they're going to get the added value of wisdom. And because you're actually doing it, it separates you out from a lot of the people that have done a 5-day course and now are online saying, I can help you 10x your property built business. And I I leave everyone to do what they do, right?
Mm.
So I'm not mad at them, and I
Mm.
actually admire the level of confidence
Right,
that those people have.
right.
But I think the sweet spot is somewhere in the middle. So the sweet spot is for older people who are still like stuck, like what we say in the Bronx, stuck on stupid. So they're stuck in that phase of analysis paralysis. They're stuck in
Mhm.
that stage of I know I should talk to Piwa. I know that I put the things in place, but I'm going to research for the next 6 months, right? They're stuck in that versus the young people who just see a thing, jump on it, and will just surround themselves with the right people to and understanding that quite often you just need to know how to make the next step,
Sure.
right? And then the next step, and then the next step. You won't always have the full picture. And quite often, you will learn more from your mistakes.
Absolutely.
So you'll have people who maybe, as we refer back to what happened during COVID as property landlords, getting stung by being really narrow in their view of
Mm.
how to invest in property has taught them that, all right, so I'm going to look at some HMOs, I'm going to look at different property investment strategies, and I'm going to make sure that I have qualified, knowledgeable people that not only have the book knowledge or the theoretical knowledge, but are doing it every day so they understand the nuances and can give me guidance and advice. So I'm bigging you up. I'm not doing it to be flattering, but because I speak to so many people who within 4 minutes of talking to them, I can see that they don't really know what they're talking about, right?
Mm.
And I
Mm.
always tell them game recognized game. So just
Absolutely.
bring the real to say, look, I just did this course and I understand in theory how to do this thing. I want you to be my first client. I'm not going to pay you like you've been doing it for 5 years. I'll pay you like I'm your first client,
Sure.
but I might be willing to give you a chance, but just let me know. But
Mm.
you're not that guy. You are someone that is experienced and has the knowledge and is doing it practically. So if somebody wanted to work with you or wanted to join the course or the academy, how would they go about that?
I'm easy to find. Just reach out to me. I'm the same on all socials at Tapiwa Madovi. For those that don't know how to
See,
spell,
you
so
see how quickly that worked, right?
that's hilarious. So that's Tapiwa, M for mother, A D for dog, OVI. Same on all socials. So yeah, connect, hit me up. Let's talk. I'm here to help, here to work with people. I'm really here to try and
And see,
help people to
people are
get
trying
through
to
what they
get
need to
through
get
to
through.
you right now.
People trying to get through to me straight away. I love it.
You
I didn't
see
even
how
do
this
like the phone
works.
number.
If you don't have a broker and you'd like to speak to someone, I'd love to talk to you. My name is Anthony Lindsay. My phone number will be in the description. And I've been in finance for over 30 years. I've done everything from wealth management to collection, so I know a thing or two.